Hey everyone, I'm Orla from Write With Órla, and there's a rumor going around that I'm writing a novel, and an even bigger rumor going around that I'm going to have the first draft finished by the end of the year. With 145 days left in the year, that's going to be a challenge. A 145-day writing challenge. Hi everyone, thank you so much for clicking into my video. This video is an introduction to my 145-day writing challenge, where I am going to challenge myself to actually complete the first draft of my novel by the end of the year. Something that I have been talking about since January. And to date, I have done an embarrassingly low number of words for something that's meant to be between 90 and 120,000 words by the end of the year. If I'm going to be really precise, I have written just under 3,000 words, which is fine, but it's not going to get me there. So I, being a data analyst, have crunched the numbers in an Excel sheet. And for me to complete my goal, I need to write about 600 to 670 words every single day from now until the end of December. That's a tall order. That's a huge ask. But I am nothing if I'm not overconfident in my own abilities. So, introducing my 145-day writing challenge, where I'm going to update you every Wednesday about how I'm progressing. I will tell you how many words I've written in the previous week, how many words are left of my overall goal, and I might give you a little bit of background information for how I'm actually achieving the goal. There will be some days where I'm not going to hit the word count, like if I'm being honest with myself, there will be days where that's not going to happen, which means there's going to be days where I'm going to have to exceed the word count just to be safe. So this is really going to be a challenge for me, but I feel like by deciding this is what I'm going to do, it's lit a fire under me a little bit. I'm feeling really enthusiastic. Last night I sat down and I timed myself to see how long it would take to write 670 words, and it took me just under 43 minutes. So, in the grand scheme of things, that's not too bad. That's looking for maybe 45 minutes a day of writing. And I think if I'm being really honest with myself, there's 45 minutes of screen time that I can probably cut out of my day and replace with writing my book. So that's the challenge. What is my plan to complete the challenge? Well, I'm following the Kisho Tenketsu story structure, which is an Eastern storytelling principle. And it's made up of 4 structures. I'll go into it in depth in another time, but essentially, I have planned out this novel within an inch of its life. I am a planner. I like a little bit of discovery, but in my heart of hearts, I like to know exactly what I'm going to be doing when I sit down to write during a writing session. So I have outlined my story into multiple blocks. The first level is the section from my story structure. So it's either my introduction, my development section, my twist, and then my conclusion at the end. I have each of these sections spaced out proportionally based on what's typically done when stories are following this structure. And within that, I've listed off the key events that I want to happen. So, for example, in the introduction section of the story, the key events that I want to happen are an introduction to my female protagonist, an introduction to my male protagonist, an introduction to the world of my female protagonist, and an introduction to the world of my male protagonist. And that's going to be very base level introduction. I have then decided how many chapters I'm going to do. This is a rough estimate. For example, I said I was going to do maybe 3 chapters in that section, maybe 4. And already I'm halfway through writing what I thought was going to be my first chapter. And I've decided actually I'm going to split that out into 2 chapters because it's already getting kind of long for 1 chapter. So that is my rough breakdown of how many chapters I'm going to write. And then within each chapter, I've broken down between 5 and 10 bullet points of the events that I want to happen in the order that I want them to happen in. So that means when I sit down, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. Boom, 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 boom. So I can really, really maximize my 45-minute sprints. So that's a brief introduction to the challenge. I'm going to try and record a video every Wednesday to walk you through what I'm doing. I might share my tracking Excel if that's something people would be interested in. And I might end up sharing my outlining template again if that's something that people are interested in. Thank you so much for joining me for this little snippet of a video. I hope you're going to find this interesting, and please follow along, comment, like, do whatever you want to do that you think will help me stay motivated, because I'm feeling great at the moment, but I know that the time will come when I'll sit down to write my 700 words and just wonder why I did this at all. And why have I set this deadline for the end of the year? I mean, I know why I've set the deadline for the end of the year, because it was this time last year that I was driving home from a holiday with my husband, and I came up with the premise of the story. And we spent the entire drive home working through the general idea. It's changed a lot since then. I've added a bit more depth and richness to the characters, to the world, to the overall plot and the premise of it. Um, but yeah, it's been a year since I've come up with the idea, and I've spent that year outlining, but also just procrastinating. So it's time to stop procrastinating. If I want to write this story, if I want to be a writer, I have to actually make time to do it. And I definitely have 45 minutes to an hour of screen time in my day that I can just get rid of. So wish me luck. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you again really soon with an update, and have a good one. Bye.